There's been a lid on information for the most part, for good reason. We understand that through the spring and so forth. So we got Bryson Barnes over here, and all I wanted to know, I asked, could you give me the first 10 plays against UTEP? And he wouldn't even do that.
Yeah, exactly right. He's been well trained.
You've coached him well.
It's perfect. Yeah, it's a good test though. Thanks for testing him.
So when are you going to give us a little bit more information about this team?
What time does the UTEP game start? That's probably when you'll find out.
Yeah, I get it.
Is Bryson Barnes the starting quarterback?
Bryson Barnes is the starting quarterback. Yep. And man, I'm lucky that he's at Utah State. I love who he is as a person. I love his leadership skills, the experience he brings, but the mindset especially. So really looking forward to him.
You can tell just being around him, that guy loves football. He's got a lot of energy, and he loves to just be a part of what's going on a football team. And just any more on that, just watching him as a leader, because there's a lot of change. There's a lot of things that were uncertain coming into this year, but his role in kind of helping keep things together on the offense and just as a team as a whole.
Well, I think that the keeping it together part might be a little overrated because there's so few players that are remaining. We've added 87 new players. And so when you think about that in a roster size typically in college football now of 105, give or take, that number is really what was there to keep together.
That's so crazy.
And so as we're restarting basically, it wasn't really where he was keeping together. He was becoming the catalyst leading forward and creating new relationships and building new bonds and solidifying direction, while at the same time he was having to decide with a new coach, is this the right approach for him, right? And so not only did he have to become aligned and have his heart captured and choose to lead, then he had to choose to do it with other people. And so that takes time. And he's just, I would just say in general, that process of building our culture, building alignment, the direction, the work ethic, and what's happening is the speed is happening beyond, I think, what anyone could have expected. That then yields, and my first approach is the cultural part, that then yields the greatest chance to now start executing the schemes and the strategies and installations to then build a comprehensive approach to playing the game that has to show up soon, right? UTEP is game one, and they keep score. So, but without having the foundational part of how we're going to do it and why we're going to do it, it's pretty hollow when you play the game. And you can do it that way. It's just not how that way I want to do it. And so we've put an extra amount of time on all of the foundational parts. But we've also made great success or great strides already in installation and how we're going to play the game. And again, I don't talk about it much because really it's giving away an advantage I don't have to give away. And so while the fans, I want them to come and be excited, if no one knows what we're going to do or how we're going to do it until we play, everyone's behind in preparation for Utah State because they don't know. And so it's frustrating to many, but I think it's wise in terms of tactics.
You said when you were introduced in December, we're at this moment, we're looking at all the film we can and deciding what's going to happen with personnel.
Right.
And then one thing comes after that. We're not going to set any schemes right now. Didn't a few guys that were there last year maybe weren't what you were looking for?
Oh, yeah. The first 4 days when we landed in Logan, my staff, again, most of them have been with me for a long time or played for me. We spent 4 days of doing nothing other than evaluating the existing roster. That also included academic records, social conduct, any way, shape, or form, because we didn't know these kids. And then we made phone calls as to, yes, we think you'll be a great fit here, or we think you're going to struggle, and this is how come. We didn't cut a single player, but we did advise, saying this is our, and now with the portal being now, the sooner you enter, the better, if you plan to enter. But if not, these things are going to have to change for you to fit in the program. And so really, I think it's the most humane and the best for everyone to say that really clearly on the front end. Many had already decided when I was hired. They were already moving on. Some after my hire had decided. Very few of those phone calls were the reason. Sometimes that was just the validation. And then at the same time that was happening, we were formulating what our needs were, where we were going to get those needs, and at what level. It might need to be an upperclassman. It might be, are there freshmen still available, right? And trying to get the succession plan in place to where we could not only play this year, but we wouldn't have a giant drop-off for the next year. And you kind of have to prioritize that as you go.
With this being Mountain West Football Media Days, they come out with a preseason poll, and there's always a mystery about really how valid that is. But
It's completely invalid.
yeah,
Just for the record.
Yeah, because as you've detailed, there's so much roster changeover for you, and that's really the case for everybody else. But they do also put together a preseason team of players, of recognition, and that's where I think that's maybe a little bit more interesting to look at. Ike Larson, one of your guys, ends up on that list. And that's probably more a reflection of his entire body of work, probably more so than what he did last year, a little bit of an off year last year. But what kind of player do you see from him, and why do you think he would be one to receive that kind of a Mountain West recognition?
Yeah, I think, first of all, just acknowledging anything preseason, again, I think is mostly, I don't ever know when a preseason poll has been accurate. No, I don't know if it's ever been accurate. So there might have been number one on occasion predicted, but usually not, certainly not 1 through 4. I don't know if it's ever been 1 through 3. I don't even know if it's been 1 through 2. And yet we talk about it, and so I think it's nonsense. Now, in terms of the players, that, to your point, can be different, especially if they've been in the league for a while or their body of work is. And so I think the way you just presented Ike is I'm getting to know Ike, right? Earlier in his career, the performance was stronger. Last year, not as strong, clearly. And that then provides an opportunity for what will this year be, right? It can be a return to and a surpassing what he's ever been, and this will be the best version of, right? But that feedback came really clearly from me to Ike when I arrived. As I was at New Mexico last year, and we played Utah State, and again, I haven't been in state for a while, and I hadn't been in the Mountain West for a while, so I didn't know who Ike Larson was. And I basically shared that through our game. I didn't know before or after. But now in arriving at Utah State, I've seen your film and I've seen your body of work, and I was really impressed with earlier in your career. He knows that as well. So the fresh lenses of a new staff sometimes are really helpful just to validate what already needs to be said. And it wasn't a surprise. And he's worked hard since I've arrived, and I think he would really like to have a strong finishing season to kind of be the capstone of what his a strong career has been at Utah State.
I think people that were at the event in December when you were introduced got to hear a lot of what your philosophy is of coaching and handling people and so forth. And that's been, I assume, perfected over 19 years. On day one, when you were the new BYU coach, what did that look like?
It's really good. I had my first team meeting, and 5 players quit immediately after. I mean, we never made it to practice one. I had my team meeting, and I was expressing expectations. And by the way,
and you'd worked with this team.
Oh yeah, I was the defensive coordinator, and these are all offensive players that left after my first team meeting. After I was just sharing, class is important. It's mandatory, and you're 1 second late, then there's consequences. And the honor code, this is a BYU, is real. And I'm going to enforce that to the letter. Effort is king here. And I just went through the expectations. And those kids knew what that was going to look like. And 5, now that I was going to be over the entire program, said no. After the first off season, as the head coach, about a third of the team left. That happened at Virginia. It happened at New Mexico. And under a little bit different timing and circumstances, that basically happened here, but more before we even got started, not as much after it got going. But really, we just had the highest grade point average in Utah State football history, and that's only in the first semester. That happened in both semesters at New Mexico. It's been the same at each place. And really, the records have just always had us in the postseason. 16 of the 18 years have qualified. And so kids will rise to what's expected and what is truly valued by the head coach. And usually that's led to success on the field. I'm fortunate to be at Utah State. I believe the exact same thing will happen even at a higher level. I'd love to say I've perfected it. I'm working on it. But I love willing learners. These kids at Utah State, they love to work. They're hopeful. They're optimistic. They believe that what we're doing and what I have done will yield success. And it just, so far it's going really well. We still have to play football and learn to play football with this group and this almost entirely new team. But in terms on a daily basis, if you came into the building, you'd see nothing but vibrant energy or vibrant, energetic, and driven people. And that would be any business leader that came in. They'd say, wow, what's happening here? And that's what's going on.
We had 2 New Mexico guys that you coached last year here
Richard
earlier.
and Gabe, yeah.
And they're, you got them on your side wherever you go. Gabe said something like, well, he showed me some books to read. I think he's read them all. So, and these guys, and they talked about the higher expectations, and it's worth it because of how things happen.
Yeah.
It's working.
That really is. It's easier with each successive year that I've coached because the players see the track record and they know if they just do what others have done, this will be the result. They also know if the result doesn't happen, it most likely is because they didn't do at the level needed what was required. And those kids were, it was such a cool experience for me yesterday. We were getting ready for the team or the head coaches meeting for the Mountain West. And that meeting's getting ready to start, and here the two New Mexico kids come into the room just to see me and to express gratitude. And, man, I hugged. And I love those kids. And heartbreaking to leave them, but they are exceptional young people. But they chose to invest and try harder than they'd ever tried. And when Washington State came in as a top 20 team a year ago, and New Mexico hadn't beaten a top 20 team in 80 years, and we win, the folks in the stands are crying, and those players, it might have been the best victory in my career because of the magnitude of what it took to do that. And those kids, when I saw them, that won't ever go away, and to be able to share that with them, and I want that for Utah State's players, for our community, and I want it on a consistent basis. And I know it can happen. There's challenges for sure. It's just now how fast, right? It's not to me an if question, it's just when. And I'm responsible for when, but really what determines when is more player driven than coach driven. And I'm responsible to get the players to drive that. So it's still my responsibility, but that really determines the speed.
You were talking earlier about how much roster turnover has taken place for this Utah State team. Generally, there's a philosophy that skill trumps experience. There's not a lot of experience, at least not at Utah State, but there are guys who are experienced players. Do you feel like you have the skill that you want or need for this upcoming season?
I do. I think we have enough. I don't think that when folks see our roster, they'll say there's an overabundance. But when folks watch us play, I think the take will be is, wait, who's that? Who's that? Oh, I like him or I like them, and we're capable. And when you have capable people that are skilled enough as the collective and they're unified, well, my philosophy's always been the collective is enough. And I've never really liked the talented only and individualistic type of teams. So we make sure we hit the enough mark in terms of ability, and then the collective enhances the ability. And so I think we have both. Again, it's early. We haven't been through fall practice yet, fall camp. But I think there's certainly enough talent, probably more than what people will think. And I think the collective will highlight that in a way that will give us a strong chance.
And just building on that, I know you haven't really seen a lot of your freshmen yet in fall camp, but through what you did experience in the spring, is it starting to materialize what your depth chart might look like?
Oh,
or
yeah.
We still have a lot we need to fine tune here.
We're really clear going into fall camp, with the exception of seeing our first years play football, what the depth looks like. Now, we had a significant number of injuries also so that was one of the challenges in arriving at Utah State, the number of existing players that were hurt that we didn't get to see through spring or the off season because they were simply recovering knee, shoulder, etc., ankle, foot, elbow. And so we're anxious to see them as well. And our depth became really limited by the end of spring, but we could function. And so really anxious to see and assess our players that were hurt as well as our first years. But our depth is really clear going into fall camp, probably beyond what anyone would think is imaginable, just based on how hard and how much we work.
I don't know if at any point last season you thought about this, but you ended up playing for a bowl game at the end of the year. And
I had to go to Hawaii and win.
Do you have an Aggie team that has that potential?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And really any team I've coached, 16 of the 18 have been postseason eligible. Year one at New Mexico last year was one of them, and year one at Virginia was the other. Every other team has been eligible to go. We're absolutely capable of that. And no one gave New Mexico a chance. They were predicted to win one game, and we had to go to Hawaii and win, basically 8 points short, and really still bothers me because we were gaining momentum in the second half of the year and playing well, and Hawaii's a difficult trip, and we really didn't start playing well till about the third quarter, and kind of just ran out of time. I think the game was shifting, and so we have to go back and play there again, which again is a great opportunity. Any team I coach on any year absolutely has to be considered for bowl eligibility. It's what 16 of 18 years says, and so it's just the baseline of where we start from.
Another question in the December meeting, NIL, and I remember your line. It's not given. You have to earn it.
Oh yeah.
So that's your philosophy there.
It is because again, my passion is developing young people, and I develop them through football. A lot of people use the kids for football. I use football for the kids to develop them, and I can't wait to award and give when they demonstrate and when they qualify. I think a lot of entitlement exists in the world of college athletics, and I think the front-end loading of contracts and guarantees isn't how the real world works, and I don't think it builds people, and I don't think it's moral. And so for kids that will invest in themselves and say, you know what, I can hit that mark, and I say, I bet you can too, and then I can't wait to hug you and celebrate, and then the financial part will be added to that, and then you could go another step from there. And what means why can't you go another step from there? There's no ceiling. They go as far as they want to go, as fast as they want to go. With the commitment for me is I'll be there every step of the way to help them, celebrate and reward when they get there, and that's a cool way to go into life, knowing that you control and you influence the outcome, sure, rather than being acted upon by somebody. And so it's an atypical approach. It is. And many that want comfort and ease and guarantee, I'm not for them. However, those that bet on themselves, they earn and exceed and perform past what the others that want the guarantee, they go past it in earnings just simply by they continue to grow and qualify. But they had to bet on themselves to do it, and I'm glad to help them.
Coach, there's been some disruption with what's going on at the athletic department. And it's a complicated time because start of the football season, there's a new conference member coming in. Doesn't really affect football, but is there anything that you'd like to see a person, whether it's the full time or just as an interim person in that role for the head chair for athletics? Yeah,
first I'd like to express gratitude. Diana brought me in, gave me the chance to come to Utah State, which I'm so thankful for, and I just have to express that first. I think more than anything, I think Utah State, as I've only been there 6 months, right, a little more, I think we're craving stability. I think we're craving consistency and direction and leadership that can be connected with and relied on and trusted, and over time, and that truly represents the values of the Valley, the history of Utah State, the opportunity to grow, acknowledging and holding that identity. And I think we need that both at the AD level and the president level. And wow, when we hit that, because my commitment is to be that as the football coach, when we get that aligned with consistent, strong, moral, identity-based leadership that can drive success, what a magical formula that could be. And so I acknowledge the growth that's happened. The interim, and whatever President Smith chooses there, right, that is an interim. There are passionate, great people that can do the job. And the same for the true athletic director. I sense, right, just in my time coming in, consistency, stability, direction, and competency, all of that. Not just consistency without the competency, right, but a great leader who is also consistent, reflects the values of the Valley, of the state, that can be connected with and relationships built with. I think that would be a great kind of anchors to be looking for.
Coach, our time is up for
Great.
now. We'll get some more time later.
we
had
season,
extra time this time, too. Good luck this year.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Nice visiting with you.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay.